And then I have Kaylin, who is in fourth grade, is still a dragon. So what I'm glad to step in. I think I'm stepping in as a substitute for you guys today. And a lot of you may have seen me at past career days talking about a company that I used to own called Fund a Noodle, which was an early education product line and that specifically focused a lot on fine motor skill development and handwriting. And if you were a dragon since kindergarten, you are familiar with Fund a Noodle because you used it in your kindergarten classes to help you learn how to write your letters. One of the things I want to talk to you guys about today is especially because you're getting ready to head to middle school and you're told, and rightly so, that kind of things start getting a little more serious as we head to middle school and high school, and you start thinking about really kind of what do you want to do as you grow up a little more seriously. And one of the best pieces of advice that I can give you guys is that you really don't need to figure that out right now. You just need to take classes, register for classes that you enjoy, find hobbies and extracurricular activities that bring you joy and excitement and that kind of test your boundaries. But you don't really need to worry right now about what you want to be when you grow up. And I'm a good example of that because I don't think in fifth grade that I ever would have imagined that I would have owned a early education company, because I'm not a teacher and I'm not an occupational therapist. I never would have imagined that I would have gone off to Chicago to work for an ad agency. I never would have imagined that I would have come back to Charlotte to start working for a brand new company at the time called Lending Tree and become one of the first 30 employees ever at that company. It was all about financial services, and I know nothing about financial services. I'm a writer and a marketer. And now, kind of in this phase of my career, I am lucky enough to be able to move into more community service and philanthropy. So over the last year, I have been able to work for an organization here in Charlotte called the Foundation for the Carolinas. And what that is, a big, long, fancy word for, it's what is a community foundation. So they represent Charlotte and Mecklenburg County, and they work with a lot of individuals who want to find the best ways to donate their money to help our community. So the foundation works with lots of nonprofits in our area. They work with an organization called Read Charlotte, which you may be familiar with. Read Charlotte started a few years ago to really help with a goal of trying to get every student in Charlotte by third grade to be on reading level. They work with organizations like Roof Above, which some of you may have helped. And I know a lot of you have done some community service over the last year during the pandemic, making some lunch bags and sandwiches for the folks that our brothers and sisters who are experiencing homelessness, or in the tent city that was recently disbanded. Roof Above is one of the areas that has really helped them, helped the homeless in our area during the pandemic, and lots of other organizations where they're really trying to make an impact, not just on one nonprofit, but really just trying to make an impact across all of Charlotte. And they do that as a community foundation. We do that by bringing together different companies as well as people. And so what I've been doing for the last year with the foundation is I've been running a group where I go out and talk to all the different corporations, like the banks, like Bank of America and Wells Fargo. I talk to big tech companies like Avid Exchange, or I talk to smaller law firms or other companies. And at each one of those companies, they have somebody that's called a corporate social responsibility person. And again, that's another big name to say that that person's job is to make sure that their company is doing the right thing. It's trying to make sure that their company is setting aside a certain amount of money each year that goes back into the community to support these nonprofits and to help our brothers and sisters who are hurting right now with the pandemic, or who are not able to get enough food or to find shelter. And in each company across Charlotte, those jobs got really, really important this last year. And I'm sure you can imagine why, because we went into the pandemic and into a situation where so many people lost their jobs and many people started losing their homes. And all of a sudden, people in these jobs, this corporate social responsibility, they had their company leaders turning to them and saying, we know we need to do more. What do we do? And so one of the things that I got to do over the last year was really help those people figure out what to do. So we came together as a group. We had about 40 different companies represented, and we would meet every week for a while. And then after a while, a couple months, we would meet to talk about where the needs were in Charlotte. We know that there were a lot of students who had needs last spring when we went to full remote. Students who didn't have access to internet and students who needed hotspots. So we got together as a group and helped find some money within these corporations to donate to the CMS Foundation to help fund the hotspots. We got together as a group. We knew that Roof Above was trying to identify some places for our homeless members of our community to go. And so they were able to get access to an abandoned kind of vacant hotel. And we were able to come together as a group. I think we've got about 25 corporations together to pledge and donate money so that we were able to furnish all of the rooms of that hotel for Roof Above so that they could move some of our neighbors into emergency housing who lost their homes early on in the pandemic when they immediately lost their jobs. And so the cool thing about that, you try to find some silver lining when there's bad things that happen. And one of the silver linings is that now all of a sudden, there's a lot more companies in Charlotte who really understand that they need to be dedicated to social responsibility, that they have a place to play as a company in our community, and that they need to be setting aside funds to be donated to help the people in our community. So one of the things that I'm excited about is that as we move forward, yes, we're still in, kind of in pandemic mode. There's still a lot of work that has to be done. A lot of work started last year, but a lot more work has to be done in our racial justice and our social justice work, which this group has been really focused on. And so as we move into this next year, one of the things you're seeing is that this job, this corporate social responsibility job, is now becoming something that's pretty much like needed in every organization. And it's not enough just to say, yeah, we donate here and there to the United Way. But most companies are really starting to hire and bring people in to help them uncover where the needs are in their community and how that they can partner with other businesses to make a bigger impact, to have more money. And so one of the things I want to tell you guys is I never would have imagined, as a past writer and a marketer and somebody, who was in early education, that I would be able to now be in this position of leading some of these efforts and getting ready to move to a company to lead their efforts in their organization. And I tell you that because one of the things you're told a lot of times as you get older and get to high school, and people will tell you to kind of follow your passion. And the good news is that a lot of times your passion can become your career. I really feel strongly about helping others and about making sure that some of the wealth in Charlotte is redistributed to the individuals that need it. And I feel really strongly about connecting the dots, like helping different companies, if they don't know where the needs are, helping them figure those out. And it means that I have to use a lot of skills. I still have to write a lot. I have to be a good communicator. I have to listen a lot. I have to listen to the needs of the nonprofits and kind of understand what they really need. And I have to listen to the different companies and understand, what they want to put their money toward. I have to definitely still, even though math has never been my strong suit or my area, you still have to, manage budgets and understand If there's only, if your foundation only has so much money to give, you have to make sure that you're giving that money wisely and you're investing it properly. But, more importantly, I've had to really had to learn over the past few years and use this skill now more than ever of just relating to people and being able to be empathetic and to kind of understand where different problems are and try to be strategic and creative about how to fix those problems. So I'm really excited that my career has taken this turn and I've been able to do this for the past year. And I'm looking forward to next week. I'm starting out kind of really focusing on this, and I'll be going back to Lending Tree, where I first started my career here in Charlotte, and I'll be running their foundation and the head of their corporate social responsibility. So after spending a year working with lots of different companies, I get to now go and focus on one company and really help them create their strategy for how to give money away to nonprofits and how to get their employees involved in volunteering and their employees involved in different nonprofits as board members and volunteers. Really focused on how I can help this company and their employees be better citizens in Charlotte and help Charlotte be a better place. So that's kind of a overview of where I'm going and what I'm doing, and an example of that. It's not anything I thought I would have been doing when I was in 5th grade. So it's cool and exciting to see that even when you're really old like me, you can keep changing your career path and what you want to do. So I know Miss Taylor said you guys had questions for the other speaker, but if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them before I give you.
Ms. Whitlock, I just have to say that was amazing. And I definitely agree with, you don't have to know what you're doing, right? I mean, of course, you're not going to know. I didn't know in 5th grade that I wanted to be a teacher, right? I was in college and still wasn't sure if I wanted to be a teacher. And I have a son who is in college now, and I'm not sure if he has any idea what he wants to do. So that is a very good message. I also want to say one thing, because I had to write it down when you said something about social responsibility, because our 5th grade just started a unit on Monday about social change and athletes for social change. We're focusing on Jackie Robinson, but really looking at all of those, the responsibility of making those changes. So I so appreciate you touching on that. That was
and I think it's great that you said Jackie Robinson, which is amazing, which, great story. And CTC, the Children's Theater, did a great play a couple of years ago. It was just phenomenal about Jackie. But I think that what's really cool is that you guys combine a lot of great literature and history to read about what athletes have done and what, really CEOs of companies have done. And you guys can look and see, on social media, you can see what movie stars and other, celebrities are doing. But the cool thing to realize is, with what I'm doing right now, I'm really working with, everyday people, normal employees, people who kind of are like waking up and seeing that they have a responsibility to play and a role to play in this community. And I think that's the coolest thing about you guys, about your age and your generation, is that you guys are growing up with your eyes wide open, that you really can make a difference. And you don't have to be Jackie Robinson, and you don't have to be, somebody famous, that you can do, things. Even I know some of you very well, and I know some of you have volunteered for things and have already raised money for nonprofits, and how that you can make a difference early on. And so the cool thing is that even if you go and do something totally different, and like my job right now is just super focused on philanthropy and giving back. Even if you go be a doctor, or you go be a teacher, or you go work in marketing, the cool thing is that you can always give back. You can always set aside a portion of your money that you determine that you want to give to a nonprofit that's doing work that you believe in, or that's making an impact on your community. And it really doesn't matter what size amount of money that is. or even if you just go volunteer and give your time, that you really can make an impact in your community. And you can start doing that now. And in middle school and high school, you're going to see that you're going to have opportunity to be in clubs and in organizations that are really focused on giving back. And you can just make that part of your life, and it doesn't have to be your career. It can just be part of, who you are as an adult.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, I do have some questions coming in, and it sounds you are very passionate in your experiences, which is amazing. But and this was asked of the last guest as well. We want the reality of it. So they want to know your favorite part of your job, but they also want to know what's the not so great part of
the
your
not
job.
so favorite part. All right. So my favorite part of the job is just being able to get out into the community. And it's a little different now, and things will change when we get back to a bit of normal, but being able to go to events and go to, different things that different charities and nonprofits sponsor, so that I can learn about. Like yesterday morning, I sat in on a breakfast about the relatives, which many of you know on East Boulevard. And I know through Dilworth, you guys have done some service projects. And I was able to sit in and learn something completely different that I didn't know that they're doing to really help decrease young adult homelessness. And then that clicked my brain to be like, okay, well, I know at Lending Tree, I know that, Doug, the CEO of Lending Tree, his goal is to, he really wants to help eradicate homelessness in the Charlotte area. So ding, 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 the light bulb went off, like, I have to make a connection there. So that's my favorite part of my job, is like figuring out those connections and how to make them. Okay, the difficult part is, again, like I said, I hate numbers. And managing a budget and looking at, okay, we may have $10 million in the Lending Tree Foundation, but that has to be invested a certain way. There's only so much you can give away in a current year. You can maybe only give away 10% of that. So that may sound like $1 million to give away in a year, but there's a lot of need, and there's a lot of people who need it. And so that's the hardest part, is having to say no to somebody, because we have our distinct pillars that we are focused on. And we're focused on, home insecurity. We're focused on financial literacy. And ultimately those two things will help toward eradicating poverty. And so a lot of times I'll have somebody coming to me with something I'm truly passionate about, cancer research or the American Heart Association. And a lot of times I have to say no, because we have to make a decision. We can't help everybody. And what we've learned is that we want to be able to have big enough dollars and a big enough impact that we can really move the needle on something, versus just giving a little bit to a lot of places. So saying no to someone who really needs it, I don't like that at all.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you may have said this, so we apologize.
Okay.
What was your major in college? What was your focus?
So I ended up when I was in high school, I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to be a writer. And I did, I was kind of told to focus on, get the best liberal arts education that I could, which means go and study a lot of different things and learn how to think, really, at the end of the day, learn how to be a critical thinker. So I did. I went to Duke University, and I majored in political science and public policy, because I wanted to go to DC and write about corrupt politicians, was what I wanted to do. And I did several internships while I was there. One summer I interned for the Charlotte Observer. And I realized that the life of journalists is not so great. It's very different now, but everything was print. And then I spent a summer in DC, and I interned for Senator Sanford's press secretary. And I really liked that a lot. But again, I decided that I am just too naive and too optimistic to work in Washington. I just believe people are ultimately good. And I didn't need to work in Washington after a summer, I realized. So that's where I kind of decided that I wanted to go more into being a journalist, and wanting to write kind of naturally went into marketing and branding. But I focused my college career on just, learning a lot about a lot of different things: social studies, art history, literature, really developing the ability to think strategically and critically. And then I tell people all the time, I never went back. If I would have gone back to grad school, I would have gotten my MBA. But because I went to Lending Tree when it was just getting started, and I was there for 7 years and lived through, all their growth and change, I kind of always say I got my MBA at Lending Tree University. I never went back because that was just a lot of hands-on experience.
The school of life,
The
absolutely.
School of Life is a great school.
Yes.
You may not get here, and it's cheaper.
Absolutely. All right, let me figure out how. I'm going to stop recording. Thank you so much.